In this video, I will introduce you to a brand new evidence on SuddenSound Stabilizer in Oticon Real and give you a couple of key takeaways. To test SuddenSound Stabilizer, our research team conducted a clinical and a technical test, and I was lucky enough to take part in the evidence work that I will share with you today. In our studies, we found that SuddenSound Stabilizer significantly reduces listening effort and improves speech clarity in the presence of sudden sounds. So let me tell you how we did this. We invited 29 experienced hearing aid users with mild to moderate symmetrical hearing loss to join us here at our test facilities. All participants were fitted with Oticon Real in the default prescription. However, we made 2 programs for each. One program with SuddenSound Stabilizer on and another program with SuddenSound Stabilizer off to investigate the user benefits of the new feature. The participants were seated in the middle of a 5 loudspeaker array. From the front, represented speech. In the center, here shown in blue, and represented sudden sounds a bit more to the right and left, here shown in pink. Towards the sides, a bit back, we presented babble noise, here shown in gray. The 16 different sudden sounds were real-life sounds with varying levels and characteristics. For example, we played the sound of chopping vegetables and the sound of a slamming door. Now, the participants were given the task of listening to the speech and repeat 2 target words per sentence, while randomly selected sudden sounds would occur around the target words. The target words were simple words like mitten and smith. While participants performed their task, we recorded their pupil sizes with a pupillometry camera to investigate the cognitive load. A greater pupil dilation, or size, is associated with a higher workload in the brain, and in this case, increased listening effort. Once the participants completed the trial, they rated their engagement in the task with a questionnaire. In this study, we found a significant reduction in listening effort when SuddenSound Stabilizer was turned on. We have illustrated it in this graph, which shows an increase in average pupil size as the sudden sound is presented. But it's also visible that the pupil size is smaller when SuddenSound Stabilizer is on, shown in blue, compared to when the feature is off, shown in white. We found that the mean pupil dilation is reduced by an amazing 22%. This means that with the feature on, users experience less effort in complex listening situations. We also found that activating SuddenSound Stabilizer even to a very high setting did not negatively impact speech understanding. And this is good news for clinicians who might be worried that such a beneficial feature is associated with an audiological trade-off. Furthermore, on the subjective questionnaire, results indicated that participants could stay engaged in listening to speech even in this complex environment with sudden sounds. In a technical study, we wanted to investigate the attenuation power of SuddenSound Stabilizer, the instantaneousness, and the benefits on speech clarity. Like in the clinical study I just described, we presented diverse, real-life sudden sounds. However, this time we presented it to a head and torso mannequin. The cool thing about this mannequin is that inside its artificial ears are highly sensitive microphones, which can record the exact output of a hearing aid. So we fitted this with 4 different hearing aids: Oticon Real, Oticon More, and 2 top competitors. As mentioned, we wanted to investigate the attenuation power. And with this, I mean the gain reduction of sudden sounds provided by SuddenSound Stabilizer. An example of how SuddenSound Stabilizer attenuates is shown here, where we compare SuddenSound Stabilizer turned on in pink and turned off in blue. Here you see 3 different sudden sounds. Note how all the peaks of the sudden sounds are attenuated, while their structure is well preserved. This is because SuddenSound Stabilizer acts instantly and precisely both on the onset of the sudden sound and at the offset, meaning when it ends. We also investigated how much each setting of SuddenSound Stabilizer attenuates, and here we found an up to 30 dB attenuation in the max setting. Furthermore, we wanted to test Oticon Real against our previous premium hearing aid, Oticon More, and two top competitors. We found that the two new settings in SuddenSound Stabilizer, which are called Very High and Max, could attenuate the sudden sound significantly more than these three other hearing aids when they were set to their max settings. This really adds to the clinical flexibility of the feature. Also, we investigated how SuddenSound Stabilizer impacted the clarity of speech. We used the same setup as in the clinical test, but instead of a test participant, we placed a head and torso mannequin in the middle of a loudspeaker array. We then presented speech sentences, sudden sounds, and babble noise while the mannequin was fitted with Oticon Real and Oticon More. And we calculated how the hearing aids improved the signal-to-noise ratio, or what's called SNR. We found that Oticon Real gives better access to speech than Oticon More. In other words, Oticon Real improved speech clarity in the presence of sudden sounds. And this was true for all settings from low to max. Here are 3 key takeaways from the new compelling evidence on Oticon Real. When we tested on hearing aid users, we found that SuddenSound Stabilizer significantly reduces listening effort in the presence of sudden sounds. And in a technical study, we found that Oticon Real delivers an up to 30 dB attenuation of sudden sounds in the max setting. Besides, when we compared against Oticon More and 2 top competitors, we found a significant better attenuation of sudden sounds with Oticon Real. It also improved speech clarity in the presence of sudden sounds. And this was true for all settings from low to max. I encourage you to read more in our new Oticon white paper on SuddenSound Stabilizer in Oticon Real.